Good to have you both on. I'm excited.
Yeah, man.
It's good to be back.
This is a weird time. Like, what are you guys doing? Don't you have families and stuff?
Yes, we do. Our kids are running amok.
Okay.
It's dinner time. Our wives are filing paperwork.
Perfect. Okay, wow. Well, that means the podcast has to at least become like weekly at that point, right?
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, right.
I love it. No, I was saying to my wife, I was like, I have this like feeling in the back of my head that something's gone wrong with my booking system, and they've like booked like 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. I'm like, they have families. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it said like 8 o'clock in the evening at their time, and somehow it got mixed up. But here we are. So you showed up. Half
we did.
Wouldn't show.
It's easier. It's easier, I think, for the weekend to do that time slot for the weekend, because when we're coming off of work hours, there really isn't anything that works without us being like completely fried. So at least on a Saturday, you know, we're able to kind of make plans, plan around it.
Sure. Yeah. Do both your wives, do they work or do they stay at home, or what's the kind of the mix of the family dynamics there?
So my wife is part-time virtual. We both work at the same company, so that's actually pretty sweet. But yeah, so she's part-time. And then
my wife works full-time at a hospital, doing HR. She's been there for about a year. But yeah, it's pretty close by, so that helps out. They're really flexible with stuff. So, but yeah.
Yeah. But still, when you're both like working and then it's like evenings and oh man, like, yeah, I get it. Like I wouldn't want to, I don't have kids and I don't want to do this half the time. And I enjoy this a lot. And I'm still like, oh man, I'm just tired. Like it's been a long day. I've been watching Netflix all day and I'm just
still
tired.
Bloated.
Like, yeah, exactly. I ate some bad
leaning
food,
sideways to fart.
Talk to these fucking Americans.
God, yeah. Calling out my farting. Yeah. I love it. My hair as well. Like you can tell that we have not had barbers open since like November. So yeah, I'm excited. April 12th, like we're all in one fell swoop going to get COVID as the whole country goes to get their haircut.
Get their haircut.
The entire country is just straight to a barber.
You got that barbershop COVID. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, that's it. You look sharp, but you feel like shit. How are you guys doing for time? Give me a kind of window of what you're kind of working with. I don't want to steal you from your families for too long, and we'll make sure we kind of definitely finish up then, because I know we can get chatting.
Yeah, I think for me, like hour and a half is probably the sweet spot. If you're cool with that. Yeah,
that works. We can do that for sure. Cool.
Yeah, I've been out of commission since I saw you, Adrian, at the park. Like our families randomly ran into each other at the park. I came back and had like the worst headache. And I ate lunch and I'm like, Steph, I need to lay down. I physically can't take it. Like my head is going to explode. I took some ibuprofen, whatever. I, no joke, woke up at 5:17. Like there's no way I'm going to sleep for 3 hours. I woke up by myself at 5:17. Like I don't need to set an alarm. I'll wake up in time for Phil's thing.
You just literally woke up, rolled over.
How are you feeling right now? Are you feeling sharp or are you feeling like groggy?
I'm feeling way better. I woke up from a dream, and the dream like scared me so much that I woke up. It was me running away from my family, thinking that they're trying to kill me, like my parents and my sister. And
wow.
The last part of my dream was me sneaking into my parents' house, grabbing my keys and my wallet, getting in my car and trying to drive away. And as I was driving away, I could see in the garage my sister waiting there with a knife. If I would have, I fucking woke up from my dream, like, oh my God. It was horrible.
No, Priscilla, no.
That's what a beautiful transition to go like straight from like, Jesus Christ, someone's trying to kill me. All right, man, let's just try and record a podcast.
Great holy Saturday.
Profusely sweating.
Yeah, it was horrible.
For real. Yeah. Well, at least, I mean, there could be a lot worse things we could be doing right now. I just got a text. So I'm still on the mailing list for the church I was part of before. I'm not. I don't know what it's before. I mean, I was deconstructing for about 9 years, and I was still a part of the church. So I mean, it's not like before that. But I got a text and they're like, "Oh, our Easter service. Here's the Zoom link." And I'm just like, I turned to Tilly and I'm like, "We could, kind of fun." Like on some level, like I'm not like, I'm traumatized in a whole bunch of different ways, but I am not traumatized in a way that stops me throwing myself right into the midst of Christianity and going, fuck, let's do this. This is going to be hilarious. That's my approach to like dealing with my trauma. My wife was just like, no, we will not be doing that. So, yeah. how what are you guys doing for Easter like weekend? Like how has that changed like your lives? We're just recording, by the way. I don't know. I'll figure out a point where we start, but like whatever.
Great. Yeah. For Easter, Josh and I have planted another church, and we are starting our first service is this Sunday. You know, it's going to be really, really, really beautiful. It's called Dirty Rotten Church.
Nice.
And you know, it's I don't know. It's not anyone's going to show up, but I think it'll be great.
Well, we have no plans. Yeah, we are offering services most people can't get since COVID. So we are doing haircuts. We are doing tattoos. Are
these services included in my tithes, or is this an additional service?
Actually, the thing is, it's really niche because we feel like our podcast is so niche and it's become really successful that our church should also be so niche. So it's kind of like a pop-up church where you don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to show up at your house.
Completely viral, right? Yes. Give you a tattoo.
We're gonna come into your house.
Tattoo, cut my hair.
We're going to come into your house and we're going to give you church whether you want it or not. And we're also going to tattoo you and give you
that's our slogan. Give you church whether you want it or not.
That sounds like a lot of families anyway, right? I mean, a lot of people deconstructing are like, you're just describing my life with my family.
You have no choice. You must attend because it's at your house. So you can't escape us.
That's it. Yeah. We run home church. Imagine deconstructing. You live at home and your dad's the pastor of a house church, right? Like,
oh yeah,
how do I escape?
True.
Right. I've talked to people that are that person. That's like next level.
I believe it.
Yeah,
no, but Josh and I did talk about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
It's I don't know. Today's been a really odd day for me with the headache going on, and like we had an Easter egg hunt at my house this morning, and it was really nice. Like my city did, like if you pay $30, they'll give you like 50 eggs, they already packaged and stuff, and you can kind of put them around the house and do whatever. We live in a small town, so we did that this morning with my sister and her kids. And my in-laws also showed up, which I didn't know until the last second, which is always something interesting. But I mean, like yesterday with Good Friday, I didn't even know it was Good Friday until someone reminded me, which I think is a good thing because like I'm not like, oh no, it's Easter, but there definitely is like something in my not DNA, but in my body that I've done like a pattern established for 30 years. That when Easter and these holidays come around, like I went to a Christian high school, and I remember at the high school, like when we had Christian holidays, there'd a good amount of kids who weren't Christian at all, who would identify as either atheist or any other religion. And I remember seeing them like, why don't they want to participate in this stuff? Like, this is like pretty cool. But now I find myself in their shoes. I'm like, I don't want to do any of this stuff. And I'm kind of like, because Easter like has the Easter bunny and Cadbury eggs or whatnot, but other holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving, like there's so much more to do. Like Easter,
they've got
I think
PlayStations and Xboxes, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Easter, I don't get anything cool. But
just
yeah,
more trauma.
It's very much Christian a holiday, and just watching things people are posting today. I'm sending it to Adrian, kind of just to laugh about it because I need to.
Right. It's fueling the memes, right? You're gonna come in hot on Monday, like
meme gold.
Yeah,
meme gold.
Well, if we're not shut down by Monday, because apparently last night people were trying to report our account for hate speech.
I've had that warning come up a couple of times for me as well. It's a weird one, right? It's like you get reported for hate speech and you're like, I was pointing out hate. And you reported it as hate. I'm like, this is like some chicken and egg shit right here. Like, where do we go with this?
I mean, I guess if you want to be technical, it is hate speech because it's calling out hate.
Sure.
So we noticed that you're bringing up some hate speech. I am bringing up some hate speech. In fact, that's the subject of the content. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, first of all, real quick, Phil, this is great being a second time visitor to this show. Because I feel like
I get your story again.
Oh my God. I feel like we have told our story a million times and we're happy to do it, but this is nice to just be able to talk about whatever the hell
do you know what? I've almost stopped asking people their story unless I know specifically they haven't done it before. And I'm like, oh, this will be a unique thing for them. But otherwise I'm like, fuck it, people go Google like a podcast. Like this podcast is not meant to be recycling someone else's, like, because you go on someone else's podcast, you say the same freaking thing again. And it's like,
that's going to be my answer from now on. Like, how'd you guys start? Fuck it, go Google us.
Fuck it, Google us, bitch.
Type my name into iTunes podcasts and listen to the 300 podcasts where I say the same thing on everyone's podcast.
Yes.
Then come and talk to me.
Next question.
Next question. Proceed. No, but I was thinking about this, guys. Like my biggest thing that I've been feeling this weekend, I couldn't place what it was that made me feel kind of off. What I think it is I am seeing the rate at which people are burning the candle at both ends for the sake of delivering some sort of big Easter Super Bowl Sunday thing. And I remember it's very similar to Christmas. Easter is like the Super Bowl of the year for so many churches. And so I don't know how it is for many churches who are maybe still virtual, but for churches who are like back, they're trying to be back in a big way. And so it's like multiple services, right? So you're going to be here on Friday night, and you're going to be here on Saturday all day, and you're going to be here on Sunday all day. And all I kept thinking of is just these poor people who are going to just completely get fried and then have to recuperate in like the remaining hours, the remaining moments they have at the end of the weekend, just to get ready for like their 9 to 5. You know what I mean? And because that is so much of our experience. Like when we were church planters, we were bivocational, held full-time 9 to 5 jobs. We would be completely committed for the duration of the weekend. You get home on Sunday just to try and get some semblance of productivity and quality time with your loved ones, just to jump right into your 9 to 5. So for me, as like a big time empath, I'm like just feeling so bad for all the people who are like stuck in the cogs right now.
Yeah, me and my wife were talking about this today. We were going for a walk, and we were just like kind of laughing because I ran by her. I was like, "Hey, I just got an email with the link to tomorrow's church service," and she was like, "Just like go die, just fuck off right now." She probably didn't say that exactly, and she'd be very embarrassed if people thought she said that. She didn't. She said like "fuck you" or something. I don't know exactly. But
much better.
You know, no. And we were reminiscing. She used to be a teacher, and the teaching. I know it's bad in the US. It's really bad in the UK as well. She was working like 70 hours, 80 hours a week. She now does like private tutoring because it just pace was awful. But she was like doing like 80 hours a week, crying every day she got home, crying getting ready for work, crying right through the weekends. And we had deconstructed. We were not in that place at all. And we would get up and go to church on Sundays. We would go to leadership meetings and do all sorts of different stuff because I was working with a church which had loads of people that were deconstructing in it, and I wanted to try and help create that safe space for them to do that. And so I felt really committed to the church I was in to like try and ensure it was a safe place. But she didn't need to. And we were just talking about the craziness of like she's working 80 hours a week and she is burned out, traumatized by work. And yet she's still going, okay, well, I'm the teacher in this church because churches in the UK are a lot smaller, whatever, there's not many teachers in here. So she's like, so I obviously have to oversee the kids' work. And it's like, are you kidding? No, you do not have to. But we don't think about it, right? Even having deconstructed, we're still in that pattern of like, well, I've got to serve, I've got to do this, I've got to give it all. It's so like, it's just so extreme. So how many years out are you? Is this your second Easter out of church?
No.
First? Third?
I think it's our.
No, I think it's like a 4th or 5th.
Yeah. Oh, really? You're while out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're kind of used to the kind of like Easter isn't Easter to some degree.
To some degree.
Because of family and.
Yeah, we still see, at least for the past few years, we would still spend time with the family, and so there's always the question like, well, what did you guys do for church? Where'd you guys go? Because we didn't go with them, and so that's a part of it. Fortunately, I think 3 years ago, I went to Heartway, which they don't call themselves a church anymore. They call themselves like a faith community with our friend Danny Prada. And so his kind of faith community hosted an Easter service. So that was so I guess I did go to an Easter service, but it was so intrinsically different, fundamentally different. So in my mind, it's still distance, but I don't know, I still kind of feel it. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, well, I think the first year or two that I was out of church, I was just enjoying not being there, and DRCK really wasn't a thing, or if it was like just starting. But now, like last year and this year, after having some conversations with some of the guests we had on, and just realizing like, it's the one thing to enjoy not doing something you've done for X amount of years, but there's also a whole other stone to unturn when you look at, okay, but how did that affect me for doing that for so many years? So it's like a progress. It's like progression. It's like, I enjoyed it for a while, but also I need to realize why myself feels a certain way at a certain time of year, because well, buddy, you did something for 30 plus years. What do you expect? You can't just expect your body to go, okay, this is the new norm, should get used to it. And I think a really good example of that is how rapidly COVID changed everyone's lives. Like everyone had to just get into a new, like immediately, don't move anywhere, don't go anywhere. This is your life for apparently more than a year now. But then you extrapolate that over all the years one person might have served at a church or been on staff at various churches. And then you're like, oh, okay, then these feelings are starting to make sense because I'm feeling X, Y, Z. I think the impetus for that was Joe Lumen's interview because she wasn't involved in any church stuff. Like we never met her until we interviewed her. But the one thing she said on that interview was, I apologize for all those things that were done to you and Adrian. And no one had ever. All the pastors that we met with and worked with who just let us go by the wayside never did that. All the acquaintances who we thought were friends that we lost when we deconstructed never did that. No one ever said sorry for all that stuff we experienced, whether good or bad. I mean, I don't want to paint it as all horrible. Sure. But when she said that, like, not only did it like break our hearts that, okay, that's something we didn't know we needed, but it also reminded us of the permission we had to be like, yeah, this is my body and I can take these things back. So now instead of going, yay, I'm out of Easter, it's like, yay, I'm out of Easter, but is there anything worth keeping? Is there anything that I enjoyed from it? And how do I now explain a man dying for my 5-year-old daughter's sin when she tells me she's a sinner because she heard it at her cousin's church? So yeah, it's very different. It looks very different and feels very different than when I first escaped. That's the word I was using.
Nice.
It feels like, yeah, I made it. This is cool. I get to do stuff on Sundays now. But now I'm like, oh yeah, man. Like, do I even want to do anything on Sunday? Or is that just something I feel like I need to do? So yeah, it's a mix of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it feels like at the end of a movie when like the heroes like escape. Like, have you ever seen Snowpiercer?
Yeah. I've not seen
Great
the second
movie.
season though, so don't you dare. Oh,
I'm not watching the show.
Even better.
The film.
Okay,
the film's amazing.
If you haven't seen the TV show and you enjoyed the movie,
I haven't
honestly,
yet.
Dude,
they did a really good job capturing the vibe. And
I keep telling him to watch it, Phil. I keep telling him to watch it.
Don't get your expectations through the roof, but like they really did a good job capturing that whole vibe. Like Korean film is like a whole thing. It's the best thing in the world. But they really did a good job. It wasn't too Americanized.
Yeah.
Which the movie was Americanized. The whole point was like So it's his first kind of all English, like whatever. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no. What I was going to say is that like at the end of the movie Snowpiercer, there's this big moment where they walk away from this whole lifestyle, and then they end the movie kind of with them, like the heroes walking away. And like I think that's kind of the way it feels at first when you deconstruct. You're like, I walked away, but then you think like in like the next movie, now you have to actually deal with all the bullshit that you experienced that whole time. And that's a movie that they don't really show, you know what I mean? So I think that's where maybe I'm at, and maybe Josh, kind of what you were saying too. It's like, yeah, now we walked away, but now we have like a lot of even more questions just in a different manner, perhaps with significantly less shame and urgency, but still questions nonetheless. So it's just kind of like another chapter that you just don't really anticipate when you're deep in kind of the evangelical bubble.
This is the messy sequel to Easter.
Yeah,
right,
bro.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel like running the podcast and the whole, DRCK beast? It's evolved, it's grown, since we last talked. I mean, you've blown up on social media to whole new areas. You're much more active, or I'm seeing you much more on different social media platforms. You're on TikTok. You've got your Discord channel, which is huge and amazing. And people should be supporting you on Patreon and on that if they're insane. I can't begin to keep up with it, but it is worth being on. If you've got the time, a whole nother level of worth being on as well, because there's so much stuff happening there and so much healing and amazing community being developed. Like all that stuff is happening. Mm-hmm. How do you feel? Because, I talk day in, day out, and I know you guys talk to people about their processes and stuff to different degrees. Like it's a journey. What you're describing there, like this takes time, it takes healing, it takes processing, it takes a bit of kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It takes coming back and going, oh crap, is there a baby in here somewhere? There's all these different components you're playing with. It must be quite unique, however, doing that whilst steering something, leading something, right? I think of, we're talking about the Easter thing, right? And I intentionally took this Easter off, really intentionally. I sent a message on Thursday, and I was like, guys, I'm not doing anything for the next 4 days. I'll see you on Tuesday. And it was because in my head, I'm sitting there going, this is a traumatic time for everyone. This is a really big deal for people that are deconstructing. You know, Easter's the main holiday, and it's probably the most traumatic of all the Christian holidays. And so much. And I'm in my head turning into the pastor that's working all Easter. And I'm like thinking, oh, I got to make sure there's some good memes. I got to make sure I'm there to chat with people on DMs. Like, I'm thinking all that shit, which, to be honest with you, I needed this weekend off. I just didn't want to go there. But you know, how does this work for you guys? Do you feel like this is, I'm sure it's a bit of everything probably, but how has running the podcast helped you? How is it kind of maybe, do you think it shaped the process of deconstruction that you've gone through maybe differently than maybe other people might have gone through it? Or you might have gone through it without the podcast? Can you kind of, I mean, we're all talking about something we don't know what it would have been like without it.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't start off the podcast because we wanted to talk about deconstruction. I don't even know if we knew what deconstruction was when we first started it, to be honest with you. I think we might have heard about it, but we had no idea there was such a big community behind it. So like, I think what at least what people tell us they like, I should say that much, is that the candor and the openness we have. And so I feel like when we first started DRCK, we started with, well, no one's ever going to listen. So let's just say exactly what we're feeling.
Right.
We don't owe anyone anything. Or there's not a church behind this. It's just literally just us doing this. And I think in that sense, like, we started deconstructing like on actual episodes. Like, we'd have a guest on, or we talk about a subject, and in the middle of a conversation, we're like, oh my gosh. Like we're finding it as we're going along. So for me, I mean, if it's changed, I don't know if it's changed because I don't, this is just it. Like, today is just Saturday or whatever day we work. Like, it's just a Sunday, and I'm maybe deconstruct on a Sunday. Maybe I'll run into Adrian and his family at a park, which we didn't plan, and hang out there for a bit. Maybe I'll watch Godzilla and King Kong tonight, which I am very much going to do and looking very much forward to, because this is a cheesy popcorn movie. But yeah, I don't know if it's different, but doing the podcast has definitely been like, okay, like Adrian always says, equal parts heavy and light. Like, I can get heavy with it. I can give myself time to dig into it. I can hop on our Discord and talk to people, and if I feel the need to, like, reach out to others, or I can just eat all my kids' candy when they leave, like all the Easter egg candy. But yeah, it's an interesting question, because, and that's really interesting. Like, you were aware of that feeling yourself, like seeing that you were trying to plan ahead and everything. I mean, I haven't felt like that at all. Adrian, have you? I mean, have you felt kind of that urge?
Yeah, I have. I think because of how active I am on Instagram, you feel like you owe it to your people. You owe it to the bad apples to post something about Good Friday and post something about Easter Sunday. Or as soon as, so like when the Atlanta shooting happened with like the terrorists that came and shot up 3 spas, killing 6 women of Asian descent, I felt like all I wanted to do was just curl up in a ball and disappear. And then I also felt like people are wanting to hear what we have to say. And not to overinflate us. It's not like, oh, we are the voice of our generation. No, fuck that. We're not, no, but the people have told us that they appreciate our take or our perspective or our candidness or whatever. So in that, it was kind of like, do I have things to say? Because I know if I do, there is a likelihood that it will help people. So it's kind of like, if I have something to say, I should probably just say it and post it or whatever. But there is that feeling of like, but do I want to say it? I actually, both Josh and I were feeling some sort of way yesterday. Clearly, we just recorded our own episode this past Thursday, and then the next day was Good Friday, and we talked about, Link posted something about kind of the exhaustion that happens for ex-staffers or ex-church people, and I posted the thing that I said basically like, you miss a lot of opportunities by dedicating every weekend to evangelicalism, which is just me just kind of trying to deal, you know. And then like sometimes people would post and kind of like push back as like a cognitive exercise. Like, well, the data shows that overall, like your experience is very just your experience, but on the whole, most people have a really good experience from church, yada yada. And they're entirely able to do that. Like, it's fine. But the downside of me pushing out content is that if I'm not ready to have that part of myself interacted with, it doesn't help me. If anything, I texted Link, it fucked me up pretty bad. Because it like when people take a moment of your, it's one thing if I put out a meme and it's like, I'm just being a dick, and then they kind of like push back, then I can kind of like Teflon, it slides right off. But if it's a moment of like actually kind of like excavating yourself and laying something out there in the moment that you actually need to say it, you are very vulnerable. And if like kind of like the dude bro, the theological bro who comes in just to be the devil's advocate, which by the way, I hate the devil, but I hate devil's advocates more. Okay, they're the fucking worst. Don't ever be a devil's advocate. Just let me deal with the devil, please. When that happens, it feels that much worse. You know. So to your point, there is this feeling of like, I want to protect myself from what on other circumstances I would be cool with, but in this instance, so all that to say, I'm talking a lot, but it is
it's good.
A mix of emotions, certainly, especially this weekend, totally.
Yeah, I think there's a component as well, like we're seeing more and more, and I think this is a really exciting and good thing, we're seeing more and more people feeling confident enough to start talking about their deconstruction on their own platforms, whatever that looks like, whether it is just occasionally sharing something like maybe that you've shared on Instagram or sharing a funny meme or whatever, or it's hey, I'm going to create a totally private account and like, you know, start like sharing stuff and thoughts and whatever, and those kind of accounts are growing and developing, or very public accounts like, hey, I'm just going to become very vocal about my deconstruction journey, you can follow me, and you know, we're seeing that more and more, and that's a brilliant, beautiful, amazing thing, because we need more vocalization, we need more people to see that this is a normal process and to experience all the full range of different people going through that. But I think people don't realize the toll it takes of the feedback that you can get can be such another person reading this goes, that bothered you, but yeah, that bothers you when you're trying to be vulnerable, when you're trying to share a thought, or you've spent a while thinking about something and gone, this is what I want to share, or maybe you spent no time at all thinking and you're just being like, here's some raw thoughts, and someone starts tearing into you as though, I don't know what, as though, and in some ways, hey, it's the internet, sure, you're allowed to, but you're also allowed to then block them or whatever if you want. But I think we don't talk about that process, because deconstruction is hard. You know, it's hard to do this on your own, privately, work up the courage to talk to your sister-in-law and have them kind of tear into you. That's a horrible process, but that's hard. Then try and do that with 300 people commenting, right? So like, you know, it's hard having one person give you some rough feedback. Try posting it online and having a whole bunch of people like tear you apart. And the thing of like, yeah, well, you get all these positive comments, right? Your comments are full of positive stuff. Doesn't matter, right? If there's one bad one in there, that's the one that Instagram's going to make sure I see, and that's the one that I'm going to think about for days. Going, and that's got to affect the way that you're deconstructing, right? Having that constant feedback, having people attack you, like that's not going to be the same as if you guys were just two buddies in Florida, processing their deconstruction, meeting up at the park with the family, talking like, hey, what you been thinking about, what you unpacking, what are you reading, oh, did you watch that Joe Lohman podcast, or, you know, that's a very different process than some asswipe, you know, their bio is, you know, husband, father, pastor, you know, whatever. Like, you know, like we know that person. There's a lot of them actually. It's not one person, that is like a sea of people.
It's a lot,
but they're all the same person somehow.
They are,
and they're all coming
person.
for us. They're all coming for us, and that is going to shape and affect, I guess, how you guys are deconstructing. So I'm just so intrigued by that, and intrigued. Do you ever wish you could escape? Because what you've done, guys, I like in awe. Like you guys are really doing amazing work and profoundly impacting so many people. But the more you do that, the more you're attracting people that aren't going to be so fun to deconstruct with.
Well, I mean, for me, I'm very much like the person you said, like it's just a raw dump of information. That's just, I'll tweet something and it's actually exactly what I just thought. And I'll put it out there. And
is this like, why Adrian does most of the social media?
Yeah. So like, Adrian, I have a thought. How about this? And you'll be like, that's good. You can do this or this, post it. And then also Adrian's way more creative than me in using words. Like all my memes would be like, fuck church. Like that'd be all of them. Like,
every time.
There's
No
certainly place for
nuances.
that. There's certainly a place for that.
Yeah. So like,
You got like fuck church Mondays where it's the same
Yeah.
text and just a slightly
Same thing.
different GIF every single week.
But yeah, I run through most of my creative ideas through Adrian. But it's interesting because we do, like, for the amount of people that listen to us, I am shocked we don't get more shit. I think our name does a good job of keeping people away. I think our humor does a good job of keeping people away as well, which is good and bad because they get turned off by whatever we might say, making fun of this or that, but and completely miss the mark. Like, the one we usually get is, well, you talk about what you're against. What are you for? Like, dude, just listen to the rest of the episode. You just happen to turn it off when I said a word your mom said you couldn't say when you were 5. Like, stop being so weird about it. But what's really been interesting to me is the amount of people I've connected with, and then, like, that's easy to say, but the amount of people I consistently DM because I met through Dirty Rotten Church Kids. Like, the amount of people in our Discord that, like, I had 2 people from the Discord who were coming to Florida to visit. Like, yeah, as long as you guys test negative for COVID, you can stay at my house. And they stayed at my house for the weekend, and it was great. And it felt like I've known them for a long time just because we connected on this other thing. So there are those theo bros who are like, yeah, the devil's advocate, but yeah, that's just your experience. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, life is just everyone's experience. And so I think that helps Adrian, because Adrian texted me that person commented on his tweet, and I started reading him like, ooh, today's a good day to fuck someone up. Let's go, dude.
I almost don't tell Josh a lot of things.
Yeah. So what you're saying, Josh, is I should send you texts when I get that person and just be like, hey, Josh, you want to click this link and just go at it?
Yeah, I don't know. I had like a morbid enjoyment of just awkward situations and making people aware of how blatantly stupid they are. So if I get a chance to do that, I do. But what's interesting as well is to see, like, if someone makes what was it? Oh man, I'm trying to recall it. We posted a meme and some guy came in and tried to theologically take it apart. We didn't have to do anything. The comments are like, dude, do you recognize what page you're on? Like, read the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I feel that's good as well, that people have, like, realize they have the permission to not just let another person who seems like have authority come and, like, establish their authority in this space. Because that's something that we gave a lot of white men the privilege to do in our lives before. And there is a part when some guy comes in and goes, hey, but that's just your experience. Like, oh shit, it just is. Am I out of line here? It's so much easier to slip into that old role, that old narrative. But yeah, I mean, we do get some DMs. We don't get really many emails because emails take a little bit more effort to type and then send. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm going to tell them off. Let me read this. Like, no one does that. We do get some DMs. We do get some Instagram DMs or Twitter DMs as well. But to me, what supersedes that is just the fact that I have people like, hey, if you're ever in Oregon, just come on by. Like, I sent Christmas cards to people in South Africa and California, 2 places I've never been, but I connected with these families so much. I'm like, dude, it's been so fucking cool talking to you this year, yada, yada, yada. So to me, that's when I get to the bottom of it, so much of what I did in church was just for the approval of others because I wanted them to like me. And DRCK is very much that. Adrian and I are just ourselves. People happen to like it. But now I know that the people who say, yeah, I connect with you, what you say really helps, is actually me. It's not like me filtered through 2,000 years of church bullshit. So it means a lot more to me. And so that's the part I really enjoy.
Yeah.
That's so well put. There is that feeling.
Thank you.
You nailed it. No, that was beautiful. No, because I think a thing that and I'm not sure if this is maybe just, I don't know, as an Enneagram 4, this is really important for me to feel like my true self was being known. And I have always done my best. I mean, when you're talking for 2 hours, there's only so much pretense you can keep up. Like, eventually your true self will show up. You give it enough time with talking. And so we kind of were just like, let's just kind of be ourselves. And I think what is very special is when people on, like, the Patreon or people who follow us on social media or send us emails, they truly like us for us. And we talked about it on our very first episode. And Phil, I don't know if you know this, but I name drop you on the regular for an illustration you told us when we spoke to you the very first time. And you talk about like this mask that you wear, and you take the mask off and it's like still glowing because all the acceptance was from the mask. And so you spend your whole life doing that. and you leave a church going, I don't know if anyone actually ever really knew me for the 10 years that I was there. And then you do something like this, where we've only released 35 podcast episodes, and we do 12 guests a year, and the rest is just us kind of riffing and bullshitting in front of microphones for 2 hours. And that alone has been enough for me to feel like I'm doing a good thing. So yes, do I feel like there is a burden in deconstructing in a way that's acceptable? Sometimes I feel that way. Sometimes I feel like I have to land on a certain theological or lack of theological stance. That's not very frequent. Most of the time, I have done my own homework over the years that I feel like we entered into DRCK separate enough that we actually have our own opinions now. So I don't really care too much if someone likes the way I deconstruct or someone doesn't really agree with my stance on certain things. Like I've done the work myself, and so I came to it honestly. One thing that is interesting is that, like, shit, I forgot what I was gonna say. I was like ramping. I totally forgot what I was gonna say. Come back to me. I'm sure.
One thing that was interesting, Adrian.
I know.
One thing that was interesting.
Well, I say everything I'm about to say is interesting because I'm
That's
full
true.
of myself.
That's true. I said it after I say things sometimes. Oh, that's interesting.
Wow, that was fucking.
No, I didn't know I was gonna say it. Yeah,
that's a good point you had, Adrian. Because like, what I'm doing is I'm going through old emails that I had when I was at that church, because I'm not sure what it is, but I have a horrible recollection of when anything started. Like, so I've been going back and trying to reclaim memories and see where things were, like making a note in my phone of when I left this or when I started this or when I talked to this person. There's these really like landmark things that happened to get me to where I am. And it's interesting to think back because DRCK to me seems like it was such a long time ago and I felt so young and naive. But yeah, Adrian, like we definitely did have our opinions already kind of established on our own. Like we kind of were in our lab, just him and I, because him and I and Danny Prada basically were the only people that would talk about this stuff because no one else wanted to hear it. And everyone else thought we were just, we'll come back. You guys will come back to the church eventually. You'll come back. But yeah, like so much of what we started doing and just carried that through everything so far, I think has helped us be whatever it is now. We actually just got, are part of like a collaborative, I guess you'd say, Adrian, a collective like of other podcast where like Kevin Garcia is in it, Blake Chastain from Evangelical, and we got an email from them like, hey, we're starting this thing. Do you want to be a part of it? And we're like, dude, it's just me and Adrian. Like why would you want us? But it's just that, well, yeah, this is kind of our thing. And if you don't like it, that's fine. We know who we're for. And if we're not for you, that's completely fine. It's very opposite of like, you're at the church and like, you need everyone to come in. So Adrian always got this argument and it was always a pain point for him. But Adrian's like, hey, can we do this? Or can we do this? And the pastor's like, well, that's good for 20 and 30 somethings. Well, what about the 70 and 80 year olds? I'm like, looking back, we had 5 people at the church, dude. Let us do whatever we want to get people in the door. But there's so much catering to other people before. To where I think if we just hold true to that, and not in like in a bullish, mean way, like fuck your opinions, Phil. I'm gonna do what I want, and like I'm just doing that because I want to yell at you. That's not cool either. I think the thing I keep coming back to is if you have pure intentions and you're keeping yourself safe, I think that's the best way to go about at least this deconstruction thing. If you can check yourself and go, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to better myself and to better others? Awesome. And am I also keeping myself as safe as I can in the moment? I think that's a good place to start. And it's easy to get sidetracked because some people just want to throw us a bone in the comments. And last night I finished editing the episode. It was extremely long. And it's like 1 o'clock in the morning here. And I'm like playing this crazy hype Spotify playlist. And Adrian sending me screenshots of us getting our posts getting removed. And I was like reveling in the chaos. Like, let's go.
He is an agent of chaos, truly. Josh,
yeah.
That's hilarious.
I remember what I was going to say. I realized.
Go ahead.
Because you mentioned the comments. I think I have noticed, Phil, that we have gotten relatively lucky. I don't call it lucky, but there aren't a lot of people, to Josh's point, there aren't a lot of people that give us a lot of grief. People give you more grief. People give Joe Lumen a hell of a lot more grief, mainly because she's a woman of color. I'm positive. People give Kev Garcia so much grief. Brenda Marie David. People give these people, all these other people, a lot of grief. I really do feel that we have kind of our don't give a fuckedness has been kind of transparent from the get. And
Right.
so a lot of folks are kind of like, there's no reasoning with them, right? They're a lost cause or whatever. And I'm fine with that. I actually would much rather it be that way.
Oh, I'm envious. You describing that, I'm like, oh my God, please, how do I do that?
Well, because all we do is either we just don't reply or we just laugh. And then I don't block people, Phil, by the way. I restrict people.
Yeah, me
so
too.
I don't block
Restrict
them because
awesome.
It's so
yeah,
cool.
don't block them, because if you block them, they're going to come back. It's like chopping off the head of what are those things called?
Yeah.
The
Hydra.
a hydra. So you gotta restrict them. They don't know they're restricted, and then they just scream into the void as hard and as loud as they can.
Absolutely.
That said, I do feel I can deal with angry theologia bros all day, every day. What I genuinely hate is the feeling that I hurt or let down or upset people who love us.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we'll say something or do something on the podcast and we're just kind of riffing or we're being dickheads or we're genuinely trying our best. And then someone who have known for a long time, or you respect them, they respect you, they'll be like, hey, like that was kind of fucked, or that was, you kind of dropped the ball, I missed the mark. That shit, that will eat me up more than anything.
Yeah, I'm with you. That makes me feel sick every time, and it will just sit with me. And then I'll think I'm fine. I'll like watch a movie with my wife, and maybe after like 30 minutes, I start getting into the movie, hit pause to go to the toilet, and immediately I'm like, no, I'm not okay. I just remembered that one, and it's someone said, oh, while interviewing this guest, they said this, and you didn't call them on it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice, or or I did notice, but I thought, fuck, is this the right time? And probably should have, but I didn't, or or whatever it is, right? Or when you posted this meme, the GIF has a black man as the bad guy, and you're only reinforcing, and I'm like, fuck, the GIF has a black guy. I can't make him white. It's a GIF. Like, I guess I could have spent more time trying to find a white guy being villainized, but like, I just saw the GIF and thought, this is a funny template, but it eats you, right? And you're like, oh, I'm a racist, I'm a whatever, and I am a racist. Yeah, that's part of it for sure, that I didn't even think of that, or I thought of it, but then I didn't spend time to work on it. But that stuff eats me alive. Like, I get it. You guys,
I've never wanted to
really
quit
well
until then.
So I don't see you guys do this often at all. I have to confess, I listen to one podcast a week religiously. It's Pete Holmes's one, which he has with his wife, Val. Amazing. Once a week. It's the only one I listen to. I have listened to, I think, 3 if you're 35. Like, in fact, actually,
that's fine.
No, that's just the ones with the guests. Is that all of your podcasts, or is that just with guests? That's all?
That's everything. In total, we have
so
like
I've
35
listened to 3, because I'm bad. I just don't have time for podcasts. And I have loved every one of them. I've never seen you, like, I've never gone, they fucked up there, or look at them, how dare they. I've never sent you any text to make you feel bad, hopefully. But I did kind of get caught up in the storm that occurred around the John Mark McMillan thing. And I thought you guys did really well handling that, because I've been a host of guests. I've had, like, I don't know, 70, 80 guests on my show. And some of them I've been like, fuck, how did I end up with this person on my show? And I'm not saying that's how you felt about John Mark, but I'm just saying I've got myself in situations where it's really bad. And I'm like, I'm not even going to post this. I'm going to have to somehow explain to this person, they came and talked to me for 2 hours, and I'm not going to post their podcast because I think they're a racist, or I think they are just like not doing something that's healthy in the world, and I don't want to share it. Like, I've had that bad, right? So I'm like, I get it. And I've not noticed it until too late, or I've whatever. But you guys, I want to talk to me about how do you handle the dynamics of having people on your show, having them be free, right? Because the thing is, you don't want people putting on a mask. You're going to have people that are deconstructing differently, and you're going to have people that have covered areas that you have not, and haven't covered areas that you have, right? You can talk about decolonization all day, but no one's done the perfect decolonization work yet. And you're going to have someone on your show that hasn't done that yet. They're not going to be as aware as Joe Lumen, or as articulate as that, or whatever. Might be something else, right? They might still have some really fucked up patriarchy in some of their thinking, or whatever. How do you guys go about it? It must be really weird as well, because there's 2 of you trying to figure that out on the fly, right? That's a whole nother level, when there's 2 people that are like, you're kind of looking at each other on Zoom going like, do we say something or do we not say something? I don't know, like, to make sure we're listening. Like, how do you manage things like that? Because I think talk me through what the problem was with that. I don't know if you guys want to go into this at all, but I love the way you dealt with it. So
for us, we had John Mark on one of our podcasts, and I was excited about it. I think Adrian was too, because he was a person that was influential when we were in the church. And his music kind of planted the seeds. His early music kind of planted the seeds of seeing the God and Jesus and that relationship differently, just through his lyricism and the creativeness with which he put music together was always very interesting. So he was always kind of a standout guy in the worship sense.
Sure.
So when we got in contact with him and we recorded that episode, I do remember like, okay, this is really cool. I mean, if I would have told myself I was doing this 5 years ago, I'd have been crazy excited. But now I'm really interested. Yeah, exactly. Really interested to hear his perspective now in light of what we're doing. And it was interesting because during the interview, I'm like, okay, like we kind of just like Adrian and I say, trying to keep the conversation going, trying to keep it interesting and light. And so after we posted it, in our Discord, mainly, we had like just one channel where people were just discussing our episode, and people were posting questions like, oh, I don't know how he thought about that. And they started raising a lot of questions. And I'm like, oh shit, I was so into the interview.
That's
I could really, yeah. And so I think what we did really well is what we wouldn't have done in Churchland. In Churchland, you're automatically on the defense. Like, okay, but yeah, but I meant this. And here's the theologically sound thing to combat that. I think what we did really well was just absorb it all, let everyone talk about it, see what their perspective is, not tell them what their perspective is, and let them air all those things out. And then after that, it kind of died down for a bit, then went back and like Adrian and I talked about it. We texted about like, hey, how'd you feel about that? And then looking back, I'm like, yeah, it was kind of an off interview the way it happened. Like his tech stuff was kind of down. It was a weird setup for him. And so that may have been a thing or two. But really then realizing, well, if we're going to do this thing, we need to be better at interviewing, and we need to be aware of the interview while it's happening. And if something captures us, like, hey, let's talk about that thing that sounded vaguely racist that you just said. But if it doesn't go anywhere, we can just edit it out. We're not trying to censor anything, but if the conversation dies there, we're like, okay, we'll just hop into something else. But at least giving the guest an opportunity to further explain what they meant by that, instead of just leaving it up to our listeners to guess what their stance is. So that was one thing that I think we did well. And then also not really giving away too much of the interview before it starts, just kind of like, hey, this is what they talk about. This is where they're coming from. If this is for you, great. If it's not, you don't have to listen to this. It's completely fine, because some of it might be triggering for you, whatnot. And so when we went to record the next episode, like we made it a point, hey, we want to talk about this, kind of get it out there in the open. And the feedback we got in our Discord a lot was like, thank you for saying that. And it's just realization that Adrian and I haven't arrived as podcaster interviewers. I don't think we ever will. I mean, Adrian's degree from college is closer to this stuff than mine ever was. But that being said, the feel of our podcast is so fast and loose that if we don't have everything lined up for the like our research done or just prepared and like focused and ready, it could get away from us. And not only are we doing a disservice to our listeners, but also to the guest. Because now this didn't happen with John Mark, not saying it did, but like he could have gotten some random emails like, hey, I heard you on DRCK and you said this and da-da-da. He's like, whoa, shit, I don't believe that. But that's what I said in the moment. And I guess they just didn't explain it better. We don't want anyone walking away from an interview feeling like, I should have done better.
Right. And that's I being on both sides of podcasts, that can be horrible when you afterwards are thinking like, why did I use that analogy? Or what did I say there? Or why did I tell that story about that person? Shit. But on the other side, it is hard to be listening, to be engaged, but also go like, oh shit, like where am I going to take this next? I'm trying to create helpful content. I'm trying to get this guy to look like a genius, to have a great time on this podcast and be able to share what it's a hard thing. Sorry, Adrian, I interrupted, but I get it. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, we're so grateful for John Mark McMillan. I don't want to ever sound like we're trying to throw him under the bus. Because at the end
that's
of the
why
day,
I wanted to bring this up, because I thought the way you did this was so great. Like honestly, because I feel like that's generally the default in large. If you just take a sweeping brush of like the deconstruction community, generally speaking, we're quite big on our pitchforks as well. Like we're not that much different than the evangelical community a lot of time with like grabbing our pitchforks and going for it. So this is why I was like, you guys did well, and I wanted to kind of tap into that. So I interrupted you again.
No, you're good. I think the biggest thing is that I think we had we either could have swung the pendulum against our own listeners who have loved us and supported us for so long. And that would have been wrong, to like double down, to get real, let our ego get involved and be like, we're doing great work and you're just trying to cancel us, or you're just getting picky or whatever. Because that's not true. That's not what was happening, right? They were genuinely expressing the perspective and the ways that they might have like felt hurt from the episode, right? And even if it wasn't a direct hurt, they just are kind of like, there's something about this episode that just feels eerily like what I left, and I wasn't expecting that on your show. And when you hear that, you go, oh, so then you're actually, it's not actually some sort of blatant criticism for the sake of criticism. It's giving you an opportunity to go, what are we doing? What role do we play in the life of a lot of our listeners? And oftentimes it is the kind of funny retrospective look at the bullshit that we left. Sometimes we'll play people saying the stuff that we left, but almost for the purpose of staring at it and critiquing it, right? Very rarely do we kind of bring those same perspectives in any degree. So that's one thing. We didn't want to double down. And then two, I do agree, there is a feeling of like, we are going to like distance ourselves as far away as possible, or we're going to kind of whatever. And there are times when that is absolutely necessary. We didn't feel like it was necessary in this particular instance, because John Mark McMillan was just such a great human being, and he's so humble and kind, and he was great to speak to. What we arrived at is, at the end of the day, we are accountable for our show. It's not anyone else's show. This is our show. And it's very easy to pass the buck. It is very easy to slip out of accountability. I would rather stand here under the full weight of all of the scrutiny and accountability and own it. And while we certainly can't own all of it, and certainly people weren't giving us much personal flack. They're more just like, it's interesting that you would have this conversation. But what we were trying to do is go, what were every single instance that we personally missed the mark, because that's what we can control. That's what we can own. And I think that's the way I want to always be. I want to always take something away from going like, even if you don't blame me specifically, not how can I blame myself, but what can we take, and how can we have gone, what could we have done better? And in fact, like, people will still say that. Sometimes like people will go, hey, like, you make certain jokes and like, you may not notice this, but the way in which you're positioning a joke actually can be harmful to this particular demographic of people. And you go, oh shit, yeah, you're right. And then you have to sit in that. And instead of taking the easy way out to justify it or write off the person's comment, or if it's a person that genuinely cares about you, just like what Josh said about reading their tone and reading their kind of where they're coming from when they're saying this stuff to us, then you go, I see. And then what we have tried to do is go, what is it that's motivating us to have said that or not said that? So sometimes if we say a joke that's incredible, that's like overly, it's like kind of toes a line, you go, what was it about us in our own self that maybe we don't like that about ourselves, and so we can like poke at it with other people? Or what is the ways that we are just trying to be pleasant and have everyone like us so we don't push back in interviews, right? So I think it's kind of like taking the feedback and then really trying to chew on it and go, what is this having to say about maybe where I'm at as a person, and how that's translating on the episodes.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, obviously, I'm on your Discord channel, and I witnessed this. Like, I've muted a lot of the different channels, and I've like there's different ones. And the one on the podcast, I'm like, I love reading people's feedback. Honestly, it's how I then decide, okay, this is what I'm going to try and find some time to listen to or whatever. And watching that feedback come in, because I'm not really into music. I know that's sacrilegious. I just don't listen to music. I don't really care about it. It's a weird autistic thing. I don't know. But like, yeah, I don't care. So I'm like, John McMillan, I'm like, whatever. Like, yeah, he's Christian. I mean, God, Christian music as well. Like, or at least Christian-y music. I don't know where he's going this stuff. But like, I'm just like, dude, couldn't care less even more. Like a whole nother level. I mean, maybe if it was Bono or someone, but like, no, I'm good. And so I didn't, and then I'd seen these feedback coming. I'm like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I'm like, I don't need to listen to the whole podcast. They're summing it up really well. I'm like, this is fascinating. Yeah. But I was like, I am so excited to watch how you guys navigate that, because I've had feedback like that, and I know my default navigation thing is like, I'm a good person. I didn't mean to, like, I'm not racist or sexist, or I didn't ask this guy on because he's a psychopath. Like, I didn't ask this guy on knowing he was a closet conventional Christian, or like, like you jump to any kind of like, how do I protect my ego, right? How do I like protect this little baby I have that is very fragile? That's called Phil. And it was so interesting watching you guys largely stay silent, largely listening, and being really open to that. Like it was a beautiful thing to see. And then I did check out your next podcast. I knew you were going to address it, and I saw a few clips saying, "Oh, we really appreciate how you address it." I'm like, I want to go listen, and I just thought it was really interesting. But I think I think even in that, what you're doing is you're modeling to people that are still learning to do this themselves, because we're all trying to figure this out, right? Because fuck, if what John Macmillan said, right, and where he was at and what he was doing in the context of the podcast, maybe it was a bit like, whoa. But like in the context of like, hey, I've got a bunch of Christian friends still, or, you know, I've got a bunch of other friends that are maybe still got some work to do, wasn't even that like out there, right? I mean, it was I can see how it would slip by and not be a major like red flag, red flag. We must pause the podcast and deal with it. Like I can see that, because it, like, compared to my racist grandma at Thanksgiving, it wasn't so bad, right? Compared to the alt-right Christian pastor of my church I just left, this is fine. Like we're good. Not saying it's fine, but I'm saying, you know, I can see how like that's.
Yeah.
And so how are people navigating that in their lives? And I think when you can publicly do that, again, we're going back to like, hey, you guys are doing this publicly whether you like it or not. People want your take. People want to know, how do you address this stuff? People want to know. And that's going to be a lot of pressure, right, on some level. But I think it's really important, because I do think we're all learning as we go, right? And maybe that was just like you're saying. You're like, how can we learn from this? How can we figure this out? Like you're learning on the go, and we're watching people learn. Is how we learn, I guess. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It was like thinking about like after the feedback came in, like taking a step back and realizing that people felt comfortable enough to tell us these things. I'm like, they're not coming from a place where they're trying to like just ding us and say, oh, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, did this wrong. Like, no, they actually like are concerned because they feel like this is a safe space and they want to make sure it's safe for other people as well. And like, they're not coming from a bad place. And so while my knee-jerk reaction may be to be super defensive, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for someone to hear them, because we provided that to them in the past. And they're just earnestly raising, hey, maybe you should have talked about this. I'm like, oh yes, you're completely right. And I mean, like you said, we're learning and growing while doing this thing. And so like the opportunity that afforded us in the moment was just to be critical about how we even interview and try to get to do that better. And since then we've had other guests on, we've been on other podcasts where Adrian and I will text each other afterwards, like, hey, that was just the worst. Or like interviewing someone and like have an opportunity to where the show is going this way. And we're like, no, we need to talk exactly about what you said there. Because either that's really interesting and people need to understand what you're saying, or what did you mean? Because it kind of sounded like you were saying this. It is like, the hope is that we never get into a pattern of a show or a thing to the extent of, we always want to be like pushing things and moving things forward, and not just to be like brash and brutish, but just because like this is honestly so much fun to put the episodes together, to interact with people. Like it's a huge creative outlet. We just someone sent to us a clip that we were slightly mentioned in the Good Christian Fun podcast, and they talked about us because like, yeah, we listened
allegedly.
They
didn't name drop us. They just described this perfectly.
Yeah, they're like, hey, I was listening to another episode. I'm not going to give their name because I don't want to. We're in direct competition with them. But they write like a theme song for every one of their guests. So they're kind of talking about that. And so Adrian's like, dude, someone sent us this. I'm like, man, you know what'd be really fun is if we like started some podcast beef. We should drop a diss track on our next episode. And then I'm like, wait. It should not only be a diss track, but it should be like a positive. Like we really like them and they're very successful diss track. And that's what we did. So on our episode that's coming out this Wednesday, Adrian and I put together a song. It was so much fun throwing this shit together. And it's just because we wanted to. Right. So all that to say, I think if we keep that spirit, like we're going to do things we want to and continue to create safe spaces for others, then I think if an interview doesn't go really well for one person or something is flubbed up here, like our good and bad is because we're trying to do things earnestly. I think as long as we keep that mindset, we should be set.
Yeah. Talk to me about your community, right? So first of all, we got to plug it, right? Everyone that is not a patron, Jesus, what's the lowest you can give? Is it like $4, $5?
$4,
yeah.
$4. Okay, right. And I get it. Some people are flat broke, and I'm sorry for you all. Maybe if you send them a really nice message, I don't know. But $4 is not much. Get in there, because honestly, it is fantastic. But I want to talk about how you're creating community, because it's a fascinating dynamic. And if people think running a church is hard, try herding cats, which is basically what deconstruction is, right? You go, hey, are you deconstructing? Well, come along. And it's like, wait, I fucking hate that guy because he like is really like not where I'm at. And wait, you still worship? You listen to worship music here? Fuck you! Like, are you kidding me? Like, or whatever, right? And someone's like, hey, is it okay if we pray? And you're like, right, this is like when you gather people that are deconstructing in a physical location, they have a very different idea about like how we are going to navigate this. And obviously in an online space, it's different. Like, you know, we're not doing the same sort of thing, but it can be quite an interesting dynamic. I know you guys just put out a fantastic podcast on what is deconstruction, right? Hot topic. Everyone's got their piece to say. Most of them have absolutely no fucking idea what they're talking about. So I loved, because I'm like, okay, well, you guys, you've talked to some amazing guests. You guys have been doing this for a while. You are voices in this area that have a lot to say on what this is. And I loved how you talked about it. I loved how you talked about how it can look like almost anything. You know, there isn't this kind of like road to walk down that's like, oh, here you go. If you deconstruct right, if you deconstruct well, if you deconstruct healthily, you will end up at this one point. Like, are you kidding? That's not how it goes. But it can be weird kind of hosting a community of people that are, you know, journeying at different paces, have different ideas, have had it cause them to go into totally different areas. Some people are massively into decolonization. Other people haven't even begun to touch that yet, right? And you know, like there's a whole host of different things going on there. Like, how have you gone about like creating a safe space for people that are radically different?
I think honestly, Phil, we got really lucky. We got super lucky. And here's why. We didn't start the Patreon until after like a year of doing the podcast. And I think that helped us.
You think that whittled out most people?
I think it did. And I think it gave everyone kind of an idea of what we're about. I think if we had started a Patreon on the first episode, then any person who related to anything that we said on that first episode might consider possibly joining. And that's where you could see a lot of like this weird friction, and then people get pissed off for whatever reason. What happened is that we have been kind of like setting the template of like how we approach these things, which is sometimes serious, sometimes not serious at all. How we have expressed enough different variety of guests across like a spectrum of belief that we have shown that we don't really exist in any one camp for very long, and it changes day to day. And so when the Patreon started and the Discord, and all we're doing for the Patreon is we have one, I say all we're doing, it's still a lot of work, but we have this patron only Discord server, and then we have extra podcast episodes. The people that joined were people that kind of got us already.
Yeah.
Like we didn't really have to do too much. And then what happens is like, now we have like 2 moderators who are absolutely amazing. We have people who've been with us from like the very beginning who are also supporting us in the Discord. And it's like, are you included? And what you find is like, if people know what this is about just because they know who you are, then it kind of polices itself. That sounds like, I don't even like the word policing itself, but they kind of just take care of each other, and then they kind of protect whatever mojo is currently happening. And if you have folks who show up in the Discord and they try and do some like really dickish stuff, it doesn't last very long, and they don't last very long, because if they're doing something that is genuinely harmful, or they're doing something that is trying to sacrifice the safety of that particular space, then enough people hear about it that we're like, we don't need your $4, bro. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? And that we've had to do that too, you know?
Yeah, it was the whole Discord started from people reaching out going, hey, how can we be a part of a community of people? Like, is there a Facebook group and whatnot? And Adrian and I, like, first of all, Facebook is bullshit. Once my grandparents start joining Facebook, I'm like, okay, let's jump off this. This is dumb. And I'm like, we had heard about Discord servers. I had no idea how to do it. Adrian had no idea how to do it. So watched a YouTube video of how some dude set up a gaming Discord server. I'm like, well, we can kind of use it for this and set it up. And it was really bare bones, and started the Patreon. Like, hey, if you guys want to support us, you can. And that community you've been asking for, here it is. This is where it's going to exist. There's a paywall, so that also keeps people out. It's not a free Facebook group that any Joe Schmo can hop on and talk about his QAnon conspiracies.
By the way, have you guys been watching the HBO show? The Q into the Storm?
Not yet.
Jesus Christ, you
next.
have to watch that.
Yes.
Like,
All right.
my wife
I love conspiracies.
We just finished the 4th episode, and fuck, it's good. It's really good. Anyway, keep going.
But yeah, so we started it and just watched people trickle in here and there. And for, I'd say, a week, I kept up on everything, just talking to people, how you doing, da-da-da-da-da. And then I think after the episode, the following episode where we said we even had a Patreon and how to join, it went out of control. And like every day it's like 4 or 5 people joining. And so I'll hop in there and just see what people are talking about, hop into like a gaming thing and talk about video games, or it's really interesting to hop into our podcast channels after we drop an episode, just to get feedback, talk to people about it, answer some questions, whatnot. But what's really, really, really cool is seeing people that are in our Discord, who have met in our Discord, who have like formed relationships, how they're posting on Instagram about, hey, I'm meeting up with so-and-so, or thanks for letting me use your house, Karen or Steve. It's forming these actual real life, meaningful relationships, which is all people want. They want to feel safe, and they want the others around them to continue that feeling of safety. But that said, we have had a couple, like an instance where we had to kind of drop the hammer and say, hey, you're crossing lines that we can't. Like, you can't do that here. This is not what this is for. And thanks to our mods, Madison and Sarah, they field a lot of those questions for us. But I think that was another opportunity to kind of learn, how do we handle this? Like, we don't have like the church discipline handbook. We can kind of handle it how we want to. And we understand people just might step out of line because they're not sure what it is. So like, yeah, this is what it is. So we're just gonna handle it like this, and don't worry about it. No worries. But like, if you see a pattern of behavior and it's more than one person reaching out to you, and people are like, hey, I don't feel safe, and this person is continuously pushing my boundaries. Like, okay, thank you, but fuck off, please, because like, this is a community that people are coming to, leaving like feeling exactly how you're making them feel. Like, they're trying to leave that feeling, and you're bringing it here. So take time on yourself. If you want to come back, like, definitely reach out to us, but this is not what it's for. So once again, it's like, yeah, we talk about funny things in the Discord, ha ha ha. But we have some channels that are like serious channels, like channels that deal with body image and or varying eating disorders, or some channels that are set up just to talk about trauma and stuff. And so I think just by the nature of Discord, each one is a different experience. And so you kind of go in there knowing what it is. Like, we have tags at each top of the channel. You know what you're getting into if you're getting in there. And like Adrian said, people do a pretty good job of like putting all the boundaries up for each channel. But it's been so cool, because Adrian and I, for so damn long, tried to force people to come to our church and tried to coerce people to give us a chance. Unbeknownst to ourselves, we were doing that not as Adrian and Josh. We were doing that as the Adrian and Josh we were told we had to be.
Right.
But when you put like a lot of effort and are earnest into something, and you see it like do really well, and are able to connect to with people on that level, like, holy shit, this is the most successful thing we've ever done. Yeah. And we just decided to do it one day, and it kind of came out of that. So the Discord server and the people on it hold a special place in our hearts, because there's some inside jokes that I don't even understand, and have to have them explained to me. I definitely feel like the dad boomer who's like, hey kids, TGIF, LOL.
Like the crooked emoji face.
Yeah. But it's been really, really cool. And it does something, it proves something to me that the church said was impossible. The church, like, people would ask the church as we were at to give them something specifically to meet immediate need. Ask us for this or that. And well, that's not everlasting life. That's not like, it's not sustainable. That's not going to give you everlasting joy. Jesus will. So how about you come into our thing and we'll kind of tell you what you need. But when people ask us for a community just to express themselves and we give them just that, like it's been more life-giving than any worship song we ever played.
Yeah.
Just by sheer numbers alone. If you want to talk about individual experiences, I mean, that's subjective, but just by the amount of people who are in the Discord, like doing things together, that itself speaks volumes. That if like, I think why this is such a pain point for me, because we just listened to an episode where a guy's like, yeah, I mean, Jesus didn't come to be political. Jesus wasn't a self-help guru. That's because that's not sustainable. Like, first of all, Jesus was very much political. Second of all, Jesus very much did offer introspection into yourself. But now you're saying that none of those desires I have in me, like I want political change in America. I want more inclusivity, but that doesn't matter. That's not sustainable. Yes, it will sustain my quality of life if you give me this, if you meet me here. And the church is like, no. But the Discord server is living proof that if you just meet people and just somehow give them what they want, I mean, it's awesome. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I think too, like we spent so many years drawing lines and boundaries and rules. In the beginning, we made it like pretty clear, like we don't really care what y'all do. We don't care. Like now we have like the moderators are like making additional Discord channels because people want to talk about a particular thing. It doesn't have to go through us. You know what I'm saying? It's like when we were in a church, like there's such a system of checks and balances and approvals and all these committees that had to meet about a whole bunch of other things and everything had to pass through the top or whatever. Now it's like they'll just go, hey, we decided to do birthday announcements and everyone's going to talk about birthdays. We're just like, okay,
cool.
Okay, what do you need from us? You know, like just tell us what you need. Like, and sometimes they'll go, hey, this particular person is going through like some really tough shit. We want to try and like raise some money. Do you think you can send an email blast or whatever? Little things that you go, yeah. I mean, you tell me what we can do to help, and then let's just try and have as little control in the process. All we try and do is just protect. And this sounds really cheesy, but like kind of protect like the heart of the thing and protect like whatever mojo it is that brought it there. And I think as long as we just, I just consider ourselves like trying to protect whatever je ne sais quoi, whatever that thing is that made it what it is. I don't really care about the other stuff. I don't care about the administrative stuff. I don't care about the logistics. Like if it's messy, we try it, doesn't work, then we just drop it. And if we have something we want to try, let's just try it, see what happens.
This is the beauty, right? I mean, I've got my own Discord as well, and I've in many ways tried to model off how you guys did it. Like, I mean, it just makes sense. It's working well. But like, I have a request section, and I'm like, yeah, like the request section is basically tell me what to do next if you need it.
Yeah.
Like, I've never ever said no to any request that's posted in there. Sometimes I'm like, really, you want a channel for that? I guess, sure, there you go, or whatever. But like, why would? But it's so funny that the difference of. We're not gatekeeping something. We're not trying to create a certain thing with a certain flavor, with a certain theology, with a certain belief system. You've got to be a certain way. You have to tick a certain box to be here. Like, that's such an uninteresting model for all of us, right? We've all done that. No one wants it. But it's exciting to see these communities emerge. And I'm really intrigued to see how they're going to start translating into real life communities, because it's going to be really fascinating. Yeah.
Coming out of like, this is one thing we've talked about a lot on the podcast and the Discord and just amongst each other, what the American church is going to look like. Because like, in 2 days, everyone in Florida above 18 can get a COVID vaccine. Right. So first of all, I need to find out how to like, invest in travel companies, because that shit's gonna explode.
What luggage company can I buy stock in?
Yeah, dude. Like, how do I contact Mr. Samsonite? Because I need to like invest in luggage bags and stuff. But after COVID, like, what's the church's response? And I think we're starting to see that now with Easter services coming up, because I mean, I can log on to your church service and see there's no one there now.
Right.
And a lot of the messaging...
And their response is, we are doing exactly what we did last year, but just slightly COVID-friendly or something.
And we're reminding you of the good times we had. And come on back, because this is the place to be. I'm like, well, this is the place I haven't been for a year and a half. How you just come on back to what? It's very, very interesting to see how, after COVID, the church is going to look. And in the same token, like, I'm really excited to see this and I think I'm biased because we entered the deconstruction space very right before COVID. And so very much of what I know of it has taken place in this really odd timing.
Right.
But I like to think that, and we've talked to Kevin Garcia about it, about like just what we want to see come out of this. We've done a lot of groundwork, and I think we now have a place to say, hey, it'd be cool if deconstruction could look like this in person. Like maybe it does look like an adult camp where we all just try to go to a campground for a week and just fucking hang out and do nothing and just actually meet with each other. Kevin was talking about doing something that resembles a church service, but it like strips away everything that I would understand to be a church and leaves it open to a lot of interpretation, involving just like meditative practices, tarot readings, just really letting it be what it is. So hearing like the starting of that and kind of the low rumble of what people want it to be when COVID's kind of lifted the pressure from all our backs is super interesting. It's gonna be awesome to stand back and watch the church's response and this community that we somehow find ourselves in, that response as well. I think I know which one I'm going to enjoy more. Like it's going to be earnest, but like the church one, I really can't wait for the first Sundays back after COVID's over, just to see these videos and
tumbleweed.
See how churches try to pump stuff up, like, we're back in this. And like, but you didn't contribute to any of the help. So why do I want to come back? Very interesting.
Yeah.
I think too, what we'll find is that growing up, you were always taught that you can't be a cafeteria Christian, that your belief is not a la carte, that you can't just pick and choose what you want, whatever. That was like something that I have kind of pulled apart in my faith change. And what I find is that so many people are doing that same thing. And I can't help but wonder if part of the success of the Discord is that you get to completely pick and choose what it is you want to invest your time and energy into. Some people love talking about kind of wellness practices. They love unpacking like religious trauma from a standpoint of trying to help or trying to understand. Some people are like, dude, I just want to fucking talk about video games right now. I want to keep that as far away from me as possible. I don't want any semblance of spirituality, right? And so if there was a way to bring that into the real world, where you can totally like choose your own adventure, man. We're all here for each other, and we can hang out with each other and as much or as little as we want. And there is something for you, whether you want to be close to a very traditional expression of spirituality or as far away from it as possible, and you just miss the community that you lost from that expression. That to me would be a sign of perhaps welcoming the entirety of a person. And that's something that we just haven't done, that the evangelicalism just never did.
Yeah. I love the concepts. Like, I mean, we have a lot of like we've got big festival kind of like culture in the UK, but Christian festivals are huge as well.
Yeah.
You go away for like a weekend and they have all the big speakers come in, but they have different big, massive, big tents you set up. And it's like, you can, if you're really into worship, you can go there and worship anytime during the day, and there'll be someone playing a guitar that is like, the worship leader in a terrible church and is okay. But if you want the big guys, they're over here at 7 o'clock and we paid them 30 grand to come, so they're going to probably be pretty good. The other guy got nothing. This is your exposure.
Yeah.
We played those festivals. Yeah.
Yep. And he deserved nothing. Sorry, maybe not you, but sorry, guys. Bad timing there. The Zoom delay got me. But how cool would it be to get together? You what? There's like a whole thing where we're going to have, if you want to start unpacking destructive theology and explore, can you still embrace, some of Christianity? We're going to have a group where we all get together and talk about some sort of theological topic. And over there's going to be tarot and Wicca. And over here, we're going to just, sit down and chat about our stories and share like our trauma and unpack that together. And, I love that idea because I'm like, I'll probably just go with the video game guys. Is there going to be like a LAN party tent? Because that one is the one I want, right? But the idea of that, I implemented this in our last church. We tried. We once a month we did
LAN parties.
It didn't go well. No, we didn't get a LAN party one, but we did breakouts. We did breakouts where we had tried different things, and it was like, hey, you show up to church, gonna have your coffee at the beginning, and then you see what you want to do. And one of the options was just still have coffee and chat with people. But you could like pop into different ones over like a 3-hour window. There was like half an hour, and each half hour we'd kind of restart or something. And people loved it and people despised it, right? And you can probably tell who's who. But the people that were deconstructing loved that model because it was suddenly safe. Because the second you introduce some form of one-size-fits-all practice, you are going to traumatize a lot of people one way or another. Because prayer triggers me, because that was really uncomfortable. I don't know, whatever, did that and that is super uncomfortable. Whatever it is becomes really uncomfortable, but giving people a choice, it's amazing. But it also creates a weird dynamic as far as gathering people. I don't know, there's some interesting components.
It has the ability to
and
make it, to be like, oh, that's where the weird reconstructed people are going. They're going to the weird reconstruction tent or whatever it is.
Right.
I think too, something that I am super wary of for me is like the cult of personality. And I say that completely aware that people follow us and support us because of our personalities, but like the feeling of doing some sort of like special thing and then kind of like now you're like this like
you guys are the big tent celebrity act now. Come on,
I don't like that.
You guys are the big tent acts, right? You guys are taking 30 grand out of that.
The thing is, I embrace that, and I'm going to overpromise and underdeliver. I am going to overpromise some just life-changing bullshit, and I'm going to fumble my way through a $10 magic box that I bought at Walmart.
There's going to be a live Dirty Rotten Church Kid podcast recording on the main stage. Like, 100%.
Like,
but I get what saying it.
Little poppers.
Yeah,
it'd be fucking sick.
No, and it's one thing to be like,
Eye of the Tiger, you see like
fall off the stage, like, oh, dude, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
and then you'll hand out little cards where if they fill it in, you'll submit them on Patreon automatically, right?
Yeah, nice. That's it.
We're gonna take a little.
You just go ahead and swipe. Go ahead and swipe.
Yeah.
That little basket. You pass the basket, but it's just like a card reader that you just log into Patreon.
Yeah, right.
Oh god.
But I think it's like the feeling of like, I don't know. I don't like. I love feeling appreciated. That will never not feel good. But the feeling of like, oh, I just don't want there to be like, oh, they're like the pastors now. You're just like a new pastor.
100%.
And you have a certain level of clout, and people have to be kind of nice and polite when they talk to you. And, there's a certain sense of like reverence. I just don't want another sort of hierarchical system where it's like, everyone sit down and I'm just going to school you, And that's one thing about Dirty Rotten Church Kids that I think people relate to is that we're not schooling anybody. We are idiots. Like all we're doing is just talking about our own experiences descriptively. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And then we're changing our mind as we go. And so that isn't something that necessarily translates very well into like a breakout session because we're not talking to you. I don't care what y'all. I mean, I don't want you to listen to us. We're just talking to each other right now. So there is an interesting thing where it's like, while I would love to see that happen to a degree, I can't help but wonder if like DRCK isn't quite the format. Like, I don't even know what that would even look like.
But it's interesting, like what you said, Phil, about the breakouts you did at church, and some people liked it and some people didn't like it. And they only didn't like it because there was already an established norm of how church would go.
Right.
If church if church started with a breakout or kind of just allowing people to be wherever they wanted, then who knows what the pendulum swing would be like to the other side, right? Like people want what they're comfortable with, and what they're comfortable with is just what we've grown up to know as church. So that's kind of already there. So I think once people can recognize that and take that apart, that's completely fine. But also like people, like if you brought that up to me and you told me like, yeah, my church, we're giving breakouts, we're not really doing a service. My 5-6 years ago answer, like Reformed Josh, would be like, well, the thing is you're just catering to people and you're not really just leading them to God. With that
tickling their ears. People love saying
oh my God, yes.
I do not get that, but
no, it's not.
Ears,
it's like even sexually, tickling ears doesn't do anything for me, dude.
There's better places to tickle me. Do not tickle my ears.
Yes.
I don't know, man. My ears.
I like how Phil's been the weirdest one on this episode. This is great.
Oh, we can get weird. Let's tickle some real weird places.
It's just like it's just that it's not that we're catering to people. We're just letting people be themselves. It's interesting to see something I used to say. Me being able to dismantle it so easily now. Before I would say that out of fear of like losing control of where the church was going and the direction it was going in the quote unquote vision. But now I realize that my vision for what I want this to be does not have to line up with yours, and that's completely fine. And both desires can line up at the same place and they can both coexist. Yeah. So it's interesting seeing what we know as normal, what we call as normal, and see why people would be against it, because I used to be there. But also, it's just allowing the subtlety and nuances of people's complex human experience actually come up to the surface. And that takes more work, takes more sifting through. And that is where grace is. Not grace isn't when you sing about it. Grace is when someone brings up something that hurt them and you don't have any experience with it. You're like, I don't know what this is. Please give me grace, but I want to sit here and just empathize with you. Can I be that for you? Yes or no? No, that's completely fine. I think those words, grace and blessing and whatever, all those other Christianese words actually take place and are fleshed out when you embrace the complexity of Phil Drysdale's experience as a man living across the world from me, like not trying to apply my one size fits all to you and just letting that happen. That to me, that's way more beautiful. It's a lot more work, but and it's more fun.
Yeah. I mean, we're wrapping up. Don't worry, because I know you guys are time wise, but I'm intrigued. You know, like a big part of deconstruction early on is generally quite fundamental swings, and so in time, you know, what we're describing here is a very kind of open, inclusive, but very loose kind of holding of what we believe and allowing space for other people to have very different beliefs. And that is, generally speaking, where most people end up kind of getting to as they go. Even if they begin fairly fundamental in some form of deconstruction, as time goes on, they tend to go, people are going to be different though. Yeah, it's part of growing up. You start to realize that people are different. Okay. Yeah. But a lot of people early on in their deconstruction aren't so open, aren't so chill. They can be very fundamental. They can go to, well, all religion is evil, or, you know, or, well, you know, you have to completely reject all Christianity, or, you know, well, just progressive Christianity, it's just as bad as like real Christianity, you know, it's just like, you know, whatever you're, you know. Have you guys experienced this as you have been developing community, like, and trying to create space that's a safe space for everyone? How do you create a space that's safe for everyone as people are quite early in that pendulum swing? Maybe they've taken a very severe pendulum swing. Maybe they're quite uncomfortable with, maybe, because I know there's people on your boards that are still very Christian. Sometimes. I'm sometimes surprised. I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from? Like, I didn't expect that. But of course, there's tons of people on your board. Of course, some are still kind of navigating that, and maybe some are going to go back to that. Who even knows like what that kind of looks like? There's no kind of model, but there can be people that become quite militant in their newfound deconstruction perspective. I don't know if you guys have experienced that. I experienced that going through my early deconstruction. I was quite militant in, well, this is not, I figured it out. I've gone from the certain truth of Christianity, which is wrong, and now I've got a new certain truth, which is like maybe a slightly different Christianity, or maybe it's a new certain truth, and it's like, well, you can't know anything, so it's agnostic, and anyone that says they know anything is wrong, or now I'm an atheist, and anyone that isn't, you know, that's a hard person to kind of include in the group sometimes, right? That they kind of somewhat equally exclusive person sometimes, an exclusive person that is okay with someone being gay, maybe, or, you know, so not as bad as an evangelical, but still not great, like, as far as inclusivity goes.
What's funny is that much like we didn't know what deconstruction was when we started it, like I didn't really know what a progressive Christian was until I kind of came in contact with them. And some of them were, like you said, like they just traded one thing for another. They're just on the other side of the pendulum. Like, now you're being like, now you're gatekeeping what I can and can't believe. I thought this was like the cool part where we could just like actually smoke marijuana and talk about stuff, not just have to smoke cigars. But like, well, you have to do this and you have to be at where I'm at. I'm like, no, like I think our dislike of that and the reaction, it smelled too similar. I caught the scent of what I left. I'm like, you may be a cool person, but right now I can't deal with you. I haven't come across anyone like that in our Discord. What I have seen is the complete opposite, where someone's like, well, like someone posted about Christianity and like kind of where they lie, and the responses that they got, like void of Adrian and I, or even our mod speaking to them, were the most kind, soft, take your time. Like there's no, like, it was exactly what I would have wanted to say that to that person. And I just happened to scroll through it. Like, this is it. This is what, and I think Richard Rohr said this, or Danny Prada through Richard Rohr said this, but like, be who you wanted to have at that moment. Like if someone and this is largely putting the blame on the church. If someone would have listened to Adrian and I's questions, DRCK wouldn't have existed. This is all on you.
You
This is your
did
fault.
this.
Right.
I'm on stage pulling rabbits out of a hats and falling over my smoke machine because of you.
We're the main stage because of you. I'm having a panic attack because of you.
But it's just being who you wanted to have had when you first started, right? Because I don't think all of us, at least for me, I didn't jump out of the boat and fully embrace just drowning in deconstruction. Like, I'm gonna dip my toe. What if, like, the Bible isn't true? Okay, I'm back. Like, and like, just being that, yeah, that's fine. You can, let's talk about it. Or you don't want to, that's completely fine too.
Right.
But I think I got so turned off by the progressive Christians. Like, this is the worst. I do not want any of this. Put this back. No, I'm sorry.
Right.
I think too, like, I think that one thing that we didn't think about the ramifications of this, but I can't help but think that it plays a factor all throughout our show. If you follow the Instagram only, I almost don't really care what you think about us or don't think about us, because you don't really know us well enough. So if all we are to you is just a meme page, I'm fine with that kind of distance from you. But if you get close enough to listen to the podcast and then get even closer to kind of join the Discord or the Patreon, what we have done from the get was anytime we would talk shit about anything, any system belief, any particular perspective theologically, or any particular pastor, we would always go, this is probably what we would have said. This is I have said this, or I have been a part of this purity culture harm. I have made people feel like shit. I have done different damage in different ways, right? And so I like to think that people who have listened to us for over the past year and a half have also taken with that a sense of I could have been right there, or I was right there, and given themselves a little bit of some slack for having gone through it and been like, we were just doing the best we could.
Yeah.
And when you hear someone else who is just curious, just trying to understand, like, I go to church, I work at a church, and I love my church, but I'm just like really confused about this particular thing. If you can put yourself there, then you have so much more there's so much more space in your person to embrace that and be there for that person, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
some of the emails,
right?
Yeah, some of the emails we get are just like, hey, my husband and I are thinking about this, but we can't talk to our pastor about it at all. And I'd be like, yeah, I had that conversation with people in my church. I know exactly what they're going to say. I think I'm just repeating what Joe Lumen reminded us of. Like, you have permission, and you can't control what other people think about you. You can't control their reaction. I mean, if you're being a jerk, of course, but if you're just being yourself and they don't accept it, then it is what it is. Yeah. And Adrian's brought this up whenever we said our story 1,000 times. So I think him and I are just sharing different parts of our story by this at this point. But that little thing at the end of the episode, that it's all going to be okay, was something we didn't plan, much like everything else we've done. We didn't plan it. It was just, let's just say it's all going to be okay at the end. And it became something we say at the end of every episode. And we've gotten specific DMs about how that's helped people, that it's all going to be okay. And if it's not going to be okay, that's still okay too. Yeah. And that is just another place. It's just like, man, life is crazy. Last year was a perfect example of that. America in the November of 2020 was the most volatile time I can ever remember being alive. We've all lived through some pretty crazy shit this past year and before that, and that's okay. And we're here to talk about it if you want to. If not, you don't have to. You can take or leave it, and that's the beauty of life. And then telling someone that when they're in the church, they're like, oh, okay, then I'll see where it goes. Or thanks, that sounds dumb. I don't need that at all. Okay, fine. Sure. And to that point, it's easier for me to, when people DM us on Twitter and Instagram, just to respond with a video message, because I'm like, I don't have to talk and I could just whatever. But I think that also does a really good job of keeping people away. Like, I don't want to interact with this dumb face. So I just like, I'm going to send you a video message. You don't have to send one back if you don't want, but it's just easier for me. Some people don't respond. I'm like, I guess it wouldn't have worked out in real life anyway. Nice meeting you.
Like, I appreciated your voice.
More video messages. Oh, this is like blowing my mind of my potential whittling down of DMs.
I will say too that Josh is I will say too that Josh is so much better than I am at actually interfacing and interacting with people that reach out to us. I want to. I don't know if I don't feel quite I feel like awkward, like talking to people who I don't really know. Josh literally can make a friend with any any person says anything, and Josh can like find a way to connect with them on their level, which is a gift in and of itself. And your capacity to just literally just have any conversation with anyone all the time. I don't know. I'm just not as good at it. Maybe
That's why they're staying at his house and not yours, right?
That's exactly why.
But that's the thing, is that we're getting free shit mailed to us because of me. I told Adrian, like, hey, dude, hey, we're getting some wine in the next week. I'll send you a bottle over when it comes in. Like,
is there like a 70-30 split or something that you've arranged here? Because I feel, Josh, you could be, you know.
Nah, man, we're straight King Solomon here. Cut the baby in half.
Hashtag cut the baby in half is how we deal with it.
Please don't cut a bottle of wine in half.
Like, you have to drink it really quick. We both stand underneath it. Let's chop it in half.
Well, a person swings a sword and we're both underneath the sword. Like, this is
so dangerous, but we are committed to cutting things in half. We will do this.
It's a matter of principle.
That's the second act on our stage show.
Oh, yes, now that is going to draw the crowd.
It's a one-time only event because we're both going to be dead.
It's just Phil Drysdale with a broadsword. Just he'll bring out different items and we have to try and catch it with our face.
Yeah, and it's just and now there's a second offering for their healthcare.
Oh my god!
I love it. Guys, this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed chatting. It's always such a joy to chat to you guys. What you're doing is so beautiful, so important. And it does. It normalizes this process, which doesn't feel normal when you're in the midst of it. And for people to say, look, this is okay, this is normal, you're not doing something insane. It might feel a bit insane, but this is normal. I've been there, other people have been there, other people will be there, and other people have got okay. They've kind of navigated through it, and you're going to be okay. You are going to be okay. That, gosh, is such a huge message. I mean, just that, beyond all the other scope of what you're doing, you're building community, you're bringing on amazing guests and having incredible conversations. But more than anything, I think what you're doing is you're normalizing this process for people. And that is a really, really beautiful thing. I really appreciate what you do. I love the stuff you're putting online. I love when I get the chance to listen to some of the podcasts. At some point, I'm going to like just take a month off and catch up on all the podcasts that we'll listen to. But
don't do it. Don't do it. You'll hate it.
Good luck. Yeah, it's going to be
there you go. And then I'll just send a tweet and be like, I just heard the episode 14. Fuck you guys. I'm deleting all my podcasts with you guys. I'm canceling you. No.
Yes.
No, I love it. I really do appreciate what you're doing. It's so important. It really is. And so,
thanks so much,
yeah.
man.
So, I mean, for people that live under a rock, because there's zero chance that anyone follows me on any capacity and doesn't know who you guys are. But maybe for like the 0.01% of them. Instagram, Dirty Rotten Church Kids. We'll put the links in the show notes and stuff. Podcast, Dirty Rotten Church Kids. Patreon,
Patreon.com/Dirty Rotten Church Kids.
Whole thing again. Okay, I'll put the links in the notes. Anything else you want links to?
Twitter @DirtyRottenCK. You can email us dirtyrottenck@gmail.com. We're on TikTok @DirtyRottenChurchKids. We have a Teespring account if you want to pick up some swag. The merch helps. It helps, helps us. Y'all look fly and helps us buy more coffee. So that's great.
Nice.
And that's it.
You guys
that's
are on it. That's a lot.
We're church planters, dude. You have to.
Yeah, this is easy mode. It's
yeah, right. This is the easy.
On top of this, like I'd have to be stacking and unstacking a trailer every Sunday, finding out how to get it to the church, making sure it doesn't roll away during the week with all our equipment, replacing any equipment that got destroyed by the Florida sun while it was in the trailer. I have a whole list of things, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we've been programmed
with tracks that fold out into a cross saying, please join our Patreon.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, have you heard of Discord? I'd like to introduce you to Discord.
Dude,
have you heard the good news about Dirty Rotten Church Kids?
Yes, we should have. Oh my God. That's such a missed opportunity. We should have gone and handed out tracks for our podcast at churches. Oh man. Oh, that'd have been so good. Oh God, missed opportunity. Next year.
That's basically what I did the last couple of years of what I was doing. I was traveling around churches, speaking in hundreds of churches a year. And basically what I was doing was just trying to find a few people that were kind of on the cusp of leaving.
Come join me.
They came with me.
Love it.
But yeah, it's probably really bad actually. I wasn't intentionally doing it, but that's what happened.
Wasn't intentionally doing it.
Wasn't intentional. I don't have a massive whiteboard over there, like with a total like breakdown of the next 20 years.
Church's names just
he
crossed off.
Pulls down like a drawstring, and like a whole like thing flaps down behind him. That's like Phil Drysdale, our Lord and Savior.
I moved you guys over to the main stage. I've got it all kind of Anyway,
Yes.
guys, this was wonderful. Really wonderful. I
Thanks
really
so much,
appreciate it.
Phil.
I love you guys so much.
Love you, Phil.
And yeah, appreciate
Thanks so
what
much,
you're doing.
dude.
Keep it up.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, dude.
All right. Peace.
All right, sir. See ya. Bye.
If you are deconstructing, there is no reason to do this alone. It can be an incredibly lonely process, but the deconstructionnetwork.com is a free resource to help you find others deconstructing in your local area. If you would like to support what I do, everything I do is for free, from talking to people for hours on end to producing resources and podcasts. It is only possible because people give generously. There's never any need to give. It will always be free, everything I do. But if you do, we do have an amazing private community group that we talk on over on Discord that you would gain access to. And we do regular audio and video chats on there as well. So it'd be great to see you in there. But of course, never any requirement. And of course, please, please, please come and talk to me on Instagram. I love connecting with people. I love helping people on their journey. If you need a safe space to process your deconstruction, I would love to connect. It's just at Phil Drysdale. Love every one of you. Peace.